Yanni's pretty good looking as well.
Yeah,
I'm probably the one who you don't want to see, but
Dexter's the most handsome.
Yanni, you'll edit that up and put it up next week sometime, I guess.
Absolutely. It'll hopefully in the next couple of days you'll be able to get it on our Facebook site.
That's
all the stuff that's going on here today.
Our next guest, I was just talking to him out in the green room before we kicked off Smart Arts, and a lot of people would know his beautiful artwork, Peter Smeeth. But Peter is he's a boy from the Riverina, aren't you?
That's right.
I just found that out.
Born and bred in Griffith.
And went to Yanko
Yanko Ag High School.
Which is a famous school for its rugby league, isn't it?
That's right.
Did you play a bit of rugby league?
I did indeed. It was my religion up until I was about 16.
How did you go, all right?
Oh, fair.
How do you play rugby?
So you were a half-back, a 5'8", a winger?
Yeah, outside centre.
Outside centre, yeah. Quick. You still look pretty quick.
Very slow now.
The paint dries quicker, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's more exciting.
Art is more of a quiet thing.
I was actually just reminiscing with Peter about one of the best school memoir books I've ever read. It's called Old Yankonian Days, written by Bill Swampy Marsh, and you've got to get a copy of it. It's just hilarious. I just went online and had a look at one of the stories that he told. Some of the hijinks there were just amazing, really. The 5th year's last official day of school was named Muck-Up Day. Following that day came 2 weeks of Stuvac, personal study time, then D-Day, the leaving certificate exams. And memories flooding back here, Peter?
They do. I took assembly on the last day, before Stuvac started. I was the maths master, and I took the assembly. And then during Stuvac I caught a 7-pound brim.
Really?
Mm. And that's a pretty big brim. You don't find them now.
So you're talking about a silver perch, yes?
Yeah.
Silver perch, yes. They're very rare in the rivers now, which is a real shame, and they're trying to
protected. You can't
bring them back.
What
in
does
the rivers.
Stuvac mean? What's that?
It's a study.
Oh, vacation.
Yeah. Muck-Up Day was traditionally when the retiring 5th years let off the steam that had been building up over the years, and if one thing was a dead cert, our escape valves were well and truly primed to blow.
That's right.
He's a good writer, Bill, isn't he? Many of the was he in your year?
I think a year or two behind me.
Right, he writes, many of the Muck-Up Day pranks had become etched into our folklore over the decades. Jug reckoned that as far back as the 20s, a bloke by the name of Suicide Smith rode a penny farthing bicycle while blindfolded around the top of the school's 150-foot-high concrete water tower.
Really?
The mob watching below was agape, wondering just how crazy suicide really was, Jug related. It was a disaster waiting to happen. Everyone knew except suicide. That was till his 3rd time around when the bike got the wobbles and over he went. Luck was apparently with Suicide Smith that day, because when he fell inwards, not outwards. Being blindfolded, he wasn't immediately aware of his good fortune. For that split second before splashdown, he believed he was headed towards certain death on the ground far below.
Nice. That's beautiful writing. I'm going to get that.
And now, if any kids are listening to me, don't try that.
No way.
Don't try that at home.
Get Mum and Dad to try it first.
So was art on the curriculum there for you?
No, we didn't have it. It came on the year after us, when the first of the Wyndham scheme started. But I didn't have any lessons at all in my life in art.
And
amazing,
the 7-pound brim you caught, did you eat it?
My word, we got the cook to cook it and fed the whole table.
They're one of the that beat the mutton, I guess.
Sure did.
Swampy Marsh tells good stories about how the fresh sheep came in on one day and it'd be chops and roast that night, and then as it went through the week it'd go through all sorts of culinary transformations until it was some sort of evil-smelling curry by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Was that how it was, Peter?
Yeah, it sounds like it's 50 years ago, and it was.
We used to have a saying, never eat anything in sauce.
Well, they had to put sauce on it to mask the smell by the end of the week.
Anything with gravy in it.
According to Swampy. But you survived Peter Smeeth, didn't you?
Survived to today to be judging one of the biggest art contests around.
Well, let's talk about that in a minute, because you went and completed a medical degree. Is that right?
Yep.
Straight away?
Straight away. Grand old age of 16, I went to Sydney Uni.
At 16?
Yeah, well, you could in those days.
Right.
Yeah. And then I was through at the age of 22, and then I started here when I was 24.
In general practice?
General practice at the entrance, yeah.
Right. And was that when you started, picked up the paintbrush?
I'd always drawn and painted, but not much, and then for years I'd just paint one picture a year, and that was usually an entry in the Archibald. And the first year I tried it, I got in a reject show in the Queen Victoria building in Sydney. Mm-hmm. And then I kept painting. I put one in just about every year, and 20 years later I got into the reject show again. It's a tough gig, that one.
Yeah. I just really loved your portrait of Clover Moore. In 100 years, when they read about this feisty woman who, had all of these political enemies and did this and did that and championed these causes and got into these blues in Parliament and all the rest of it, they'll see this great portrait of a woman wearing the dog collar thing that's part of her...
It was just a polo neck jumper.
Was it? And then these big, vicious-looking dogs.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
They're Hounds of the Baskerville.
Staffordshire Terriers.
Staffordshire Terriers.
Yeah.
And I just think it really says something about her. And then you did one that sang, didn't you? You did a portrait that sang.
Yeah, one of Amelia Ferruccio.
The opera
singer. A lovely diva.
And that was great because it created a real fracas within. This is not good, and all that sort of stuff. It was great though. It was brilliant, innovative.
Yeah, but I was serious about it. And I think it's appropriate for people that live by their voice to have their voice with the painting. Just like great orators, politicians, I think, should have a voice tape on there.
Was that activated by movement or something? Was it? If people went by, or just
we just looped it, and it played every half an hour or so.
It's behind the canvas, isn't it?
Yeah, the canvas is actually the speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put the speakers behind the canvas.
And it worked quite well, didn't it?
It did.
Multimedia.
It's great, I think.
And that was her singing.
That was from her CD.
Yeah, lovely. And how did that go at the Archibald?
Well, it didn't win. But it went well on they have a night where they have a dinner for the president of the trustees has a dinner for the various people that help the gallery, and it was she came and sang there that night. It was a wonderful night.
Oh, lovely. And now I'll let Yanni get to the present day.
That's all right.
Sorry,
I'm not being pushy.
No, but it's doing exciting things now.
Yeah,
It was
it's
winner
wonderful.
of the Sulman Prize with that magnificent tortured artist piece, the disemboweled artist that made the front page of every paper in Australia because it was so good.
No, it made the front pages because of controversy over the judging of it.
And people will remember it forevermore because it was a worthy winner.
But he was making a point about judging, though, wasn't he? Really,
the disemboweled artist.
The judge who judged it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I would like.
We
to,
would like to
I'd
think
like to
it
think
is.
so.
Because it couldn't be just that vacuous.
Well, we better, for people who didn't pick up the Sydney Morning Herald or the Telegraph on that day, what was the controversy? We'll get Peter to give us a quick history lesson.
A journalist asked Richard Bell, who judged it,
an Indigenous artist from Brisbane.
From Brisbane, yeah, who was a known activist and stirrer, chosen by the art gallery, how he judged it, and he said, well, I like animals, so I picked a lot of ones with animals in it.
You had
some of my mates didn't have animals in theirs, but I had to pick them anyway.
Yeah.
And then I picked 4 that I really liked and 4 that I didn't like much at all, and I put the names of these on pieces of paper, and I put the 8 pieces of paper on the table, and I tossed a coin, and where the coin fell on which bit of paper, that was the winner. And so I was the lucky one that won it. That's if you can believe what he's saying.
Still the selections there.
Yeah, he's probably making some comment about how random it is. Judging it, it's all chance.
What was really interesting was that your work was a little bit about that too, wasn't it? The artist bearing their soul for other people to disembowel them.
It was about rejection, and when you are rejected, whether it's in an art prize or whether it's in life, a relationship or a job, you feel like you've been poked in the eye with a sharp stick and had your heart ripped out and left completely gutted.
Peter, great talking to you. Just fascinating story.
Congratulations.
Good luck.